Daniel Belling. Cabins are assigned. Meals are served. Ports are reached. Passengers leave and return. The ship departs again. That system is supposed to create order. But when a person disappears inside that system, the same size and complexity that make the ship impressive can also make the truth harder to find. The MSC Magnifica was the vessel at the center of this case. On February 9, 2017, Xing Lei Li boarded it from Civitavecchia with Daniel Belling and their 2 young children for a cruise holiday. Reports later said she vanished 2 days after boarding. That timing is important. If someone disappears at the very start of a cruise, the ship becomes a moving crime scene or a moving mystery scene almost immediately. Every hour after that matters. Every port matters. Every passenger movement matters. Every corridor, camera, stairwell, deck, cabin visit, room service order, card scan, and crew interaction may become relevant. But the public details remain incomplete. We do not have a clean final moment. We do not have a confirmed last public sighting that explains everything. We do not have a body. We do not have a final distress call. And that is what makes the case feel so strange. Italian authorities eventually focused on Daniel Belling. He was arrested at Rome's Ciampino airport in March 2017, after the disappearance came to light. He denied murdering his wife and spent 14 months on remand in an Italian prison before he was released and returned to Ireland in 2018. The prosecution theory was severe. Italian authorities accused Belling of killing Xing Lei Li on the cruise ship and disposing of her body at sea. Reports say the Court of Assizes in Rome accused him of throwing her body into the sea after locking it in a trolley. The indictment described an allegation that he caused his wife's death and then disposed of the corpse to conceal the crime. But this is where the case must be handled carefully, because an accusation is not the same as final truth. Belling maintained his innocence. He publicly said there was no evidence and insisted he had not killed her. He also reportedly said Xing Lei Li would not have left the children like that, and suggested that something else may have happened to her. That contradiction is the engine of the mystery. On one side, prosecutors believed the disappearance was not voluntary and not accidental. They built a murder theory around a body allegedly hidden and thrown overboard. On the other side, Belling denied involvement, questioned the evidence, and later had his conviction overturned on appeal. That legal reversal matters. In 2024, Belling was tried in absentia and sentenced to 26 years by a Rome court. But in 2025, the Court of Assizes of Appeal of Rome overturned the conviction, with reports saying the court ruled that the fact does not exist. So the story does not end as a clean murder conviction. It returns to mystery. And for a documentary, that makes the case more complicated but also more compelling. Because the central question is not only, who did it? The question is, how can a woman disappear from a cruise ship, with no body, no confirmed public ending, and no final answer that everyone accepts? The region adds another layer. The Mediterranean is not one fixed place. A cruise route moves through ports, territorial waters, and international spaces. Jurisdiction can depend on where the ship was, where it was registered, where it departed, where it returned, who was involved, and which authorities took control after the disappearance was discovered. A crime on land is tied to a place. A crime or disappearance at sea can be tied to a moving route. That makes reconstruction difficult. If Xing Lei Li went overboard, the exact timing and location would matter. A body in the sea can drift, sink, be missed, or disappear permanently. If she vanished inside the ship, investigators would need to know who saw her last, which cameras worked, which areas were monitored, and whether any record showed her movements after the point she was believed to be missing. And if she left voluntarily, another set of questions appears. Where did she go? How did she leave? Why did she not return to her children? Why was there no clear trace? That is why the MSC Magnifica mystery is not just about one missing passenger. It is about trust in a closed system. People board cruise ships believing everything is counted. Every passenger, every exit, every return, every port. But this case suggests that even inside a floating city, someone can still vanish into a gap between systems. A gap between one day and the next. A gap between a cabin and a corridor. A gap between ship life and sea. And once that gap opens, the ocean becomes the perfect place for uncertainty. The timeline begins on February 9, 2017. That day, Xing Lei Li boarded the MSC Magnifica at Civitavecchia, near Rome, with her husband Daniel Belling and their 2 young children. It was supposed to be a 10-day cruise holiday. At the beginning, nothing about the trip appeared unusual to the outside world. The family boarded with other passengers. The ship prepared to leave. Luggage was handled. Cabins filled. People found restaurants, corridors, elevators, decks, and views. The cruise began the way cruises usually begin, with movement, excitement, and the feeling that the next days would happen inside a controlled world. But according to later reports, Xing Lei Li disappeared 2 days after boarding. That detail creates the first major gap. 2 days. Not at the final port. Not after the holiday ended. Not during disembarkation. Early in the cruise. If she was already gone after 2 days, then the rest of the voyage becomes deeply unsettling. The ship continued moving. The route continued. Other passengers continued their holiday. And somehow, the absence of one mother did not immediately stop everything. This is where the timeline becomes hard to see clearly. There is no widely reported final conversation that closes the gap. No confirmed public CCTV moment that explains where she went. No recovered body that establishes exactly when she entered the water. No emergency alarm reported at the moment she vanished. Just a family cruise that continued, and a woman who was no longer visible in the story. That kind of disappearance is different from a normal missing person case. On land, when someone goes missing, investigators can return to streets, homes, shops, parking lots, neighbors, cameras, and phone records. They can build a map. On a cruise ship, the map moves. A corridor that mattered on day 2 is hundreds of miles away by day 5. A deck where something happened is washed, cleaned, walked over, and used again by thousands of people. The sea outside the ship is never the same sea twice. The public timeline then jumps to the end of the cruise. When the MSC Magnifica returned to Italy, crew members noticed during a head count that Xing Lei Li was missing. That is the moment the mystery became official. The ship had returned. Passengers were getting off. The holiday was ending. But the numbers did not match. A woman who had boarded the ship was not leaving it. And if she had not left the ship through a normal exit, the question became terrifyingly simple. Where had she gone? The investigation then followed the family beyond the vessel. Daniel Belling was arrested at Rome Ciampino Airport in March 2017 over the disappearance. He denied murdering Xing Lei Li. That airport arrest gives the timeline a cinematic final beat. A cruise ship returns to port. A head count exposes a missing passenger. Police move from the ship to the airport. A husband is stopped before leaving Italy. But even after that arrest, the most important part of the timeline remained missing. There was no body. No confirmed place where Xing Lei Li died. No universally accepted explanation for how she vanished. Italian prosecutors later argued that she was killed on board and disposed of at sea. Belling denied it. Years later, after a conviction in absentia, the appeal court overturned the conviction. So the timeline does not end with certainty. It ends with a gap. A woman boards a ship. 2 days later, she is reportedly gone. The ship keeps moving. At the final count, one passenger is missing. And the sea gives back no answer. In many maritime stories, the discovery is physical. An abandoned boat. A blood-stained cabin. A body in the water. A life jacket floating miles from shore. But the MSC Magnifica mystery was different. The discovery was not a body. It was a number. A passenger count. When the cruise returned to Italy and passengers were leaving the vessel, crew members noticed that Xing Lei Li was missing. Reports say she had boarded the ship at Civitavecchia on February 9th with Daniel Belling and their 2 young children, but after the cruise, she did not come off with everyone else. That is what makes this case so eerie. A person can become a mystery not because someone finds evidence, but because the system finally notices an absence. One passenger too few. One name not accounted for. One woman who entered a floating city and never returned from it. There was no dramatic discovery scene on a beach. No immediate body recovery. No final distress call that could explain the moment. Instead, The truth appeared as a mismatch between who boarded and who disembarked. A cruise ship depends on those counts. Passengers are not supposed to simply vanish. The whole point of controlled boarding and disembarkation is to know who is on the ship and who is off it. Every passenger is part of the ship's manifest. Every passenger represents responsibility. So when one person is missing, the ship itself becomes the first piece of evidence. Investigators now had to look backward. Not at where Xing Lei Li was found, because she was not found, but at where she should have been. Her cabin, the corridors, the decks, the restaurants, the cameras, the ship's records, her family's movements, the places the cruise had stopped, the sea route between ports. That backwards investigation is one of the hardest kinds of mystery, because every answer depends on a moment that may already be gone. If she disappeared 2 days into the cruise, then by the time the head count exposed it, days had already passed. The ship had moved. Areas had been cleaned. Passengers had gone about their lives. Crew routines had continued. Memories had already begun changing. In a case like this, the absence of a body becomes more than a missing piece. It becomes the central problem. Without a body, there is no confirmed cause of death. Without a body, there is no final location. Without a body, every theory has space to survive. Italian authorities investigated whether Xing Lei Li had been killed and her remains thrown overboard. Prosecutors later alleged that Daniel Belling had killed her and disposed of the body by throwing it into the sea after locking it in a trolley. But those allegations would become legally contested. Belling denied involvement. He argued there was no evidence and maintained he did not kill her. That leaves the discovery in a strange place. The ship discovered she was missing. The police discovered enough suspicion to arrest her husband. Prosecutors believed they had a theory. But the sea never gave back the one thing that would have anchored the case. Xing Lei Li herself. No recovered body. No confirmed final scene. No clean ending. That is why the MSC Magnifica is so important to the story. The ship was not abandoned. It did not sink. It did not return damaged. It came back looking like a normal cruise ship at the end of a normal voyage. But hidden inside that normal return was the fact that one passenger had disappeared. A mother had boarded. A mother had vanished. And the first clear evidence of that disappearance was not found in the ocean. It was found in the count. The investigation began with a missing passenger, but it quickly turned toward murder. After the MSC Magnifica returned and Xing Lei Li was found to be missing from the passenger count, Italian authorities began looking at what may have happened on board. Daniel Belling was arrested at Rome's Ciampino airport in March 2017 over his wife's disappearance. From the outside, it had the shape of a classic cruise mystery. A woman disappears. Her body is never found. The ship has already moved through the sea. Her husband is the last person most closely connected to her. Police begin asking whether she went overboard, whether she was killed, and whether someone on board knew more than they were saying. The prosecution theory was direct and disturbing. Italian authorities accused Belling of killing Xing Lei Li and disposing of her body at sea. Reports state that the Court of Assizes in Rome accused him of throwing the body into the sea after locking it in a trolley. The indictment alleged that he caused his wife's death and disposed of her corpse in order to hide the crime. That theory gave the case a dark image. A cruise ship. A missing woman. A trolley. A body allegedly thrown into the sea. But a theory still has to survive evidence. And Belling always denied murdering his wife. He said there was no evidence and insisted the accusation was unjust. He also said she would not have left the children like that, suggesting he believed something else had happened to her. For investigators, the biggest problem was the missing body. A murder case without a body is possible, but it is harder. Prosecutors need to prove not only that a person is dead, but how they died, who caused it, and how the evidence supports that conclusion beyond reasonable doubt. At sea, that becomes even harder. The ocean can erase timing. It can erase location. It can erase the body itself. Belling spent 14 months on remand in an Italian prison before being released and returning to Ireland in 2018. Years later, the case moved forward without him physically present in court. He was tried in absentia. In 2024, A Rome court convicted him and sentenced him to 26 years. Prosecutors had reportedly requested 24 years, but the court handed down 26. For a moment, it looked like the legal story had found its answer. But then came the reversal. In 2025, the Court of Assizes of Appeal of Rome overturned the conviction. Reports said the appeal court acquitted Belling and ruled that the conviction should be overturned because the fact does not exist. That changed the whole ending of the case. It meant the story could not be presented as a solved murder. It had to return to the unresolved question at the center. What happened to Xing Lei Li? The investigation had produced an arrest, a prosecution theory, a conviction, and then an acquittal on appeal. But it did not produce her body. And without her body, the sea remained the final witness. The aftermath of this case is painful because it does not give anyone a clean ending. For Xing Lei Li's children, the cruise was not just a failed holiday. It was the moment their mother disappeared. They boarded the MSC Magnifica as a family, and by the time the ship returned, that family had been permanently changed. For investigators, the case became a legal battle across years. Belling was arrested in 2017, spent 14 months on remand in Italy, was released and returned to Ireland in 2018, then was later tried in absentia. In 2024, he was convicted and sentenced to 26 years. In 2025, that conviction was overturned on appeal. That timeline alone tells you how complicated the aftermath became. 8 years after the disappearance, the public still had no simple answer. There had been accusation. There had been denial. There had been conviction. There had been acquittal. But there had never been a body. That is what keeps the case open in the mind, even when courts make rulings. Legal systems can decide whether the evidence is enough to convict someone. They can sentence. They can overturn. They can acquit. But they cannot always explain the missing person. And Xing Lei Li remained missing. For the public, the case raised uncomfortable questions about cruise ship safety. Cruise ships feel controlled, but this case showed how difficult it can be to track one person inside a vessel carrying so many people. A passenger can miss a meal. A person can stay in a cabin. A family can move privately. Crew can assume someone is elsewhere. And by the time the system realizes something is wrong, the ship may already be far from the place where the answer disappeared. That is the terrifying part. A cruise ship is supposed to count everyone. But the count only matters if the alarm comes in time. For Daniel Belling, the aftermath became its own legal nightmare. He maintained his innocence and criticized the case against him. After his 2024 conviction, he vowed to appeal, and in 2025, the conviction was overturned. But acquittal did not solve the mystery of where Xing Lei Li went. It only changed what could legally be said about him. The most important question still remained at sea. Did she fall? Was she harmed? Did something happen inside the ship? Did someone see something and never understand its importance? Or did the MSC Magnifica carry a secret all the way back to port? In the aftermath, the ship continued sailing. The cruise industry continued moving. The passengers from that voyage went back to their lives. But one woman never came home. In the end, the MSC Magnifica returned exactly as cruise ships are supposed to return. It came back to port. Passengers collected their things. Families walked off. The holiday ended. But somewhere in the numbers, something was wrong. A woman who had boarded the ship was not there anymore. That is the image this case leaves behind. Not an abandoned boat. Not a wreck. Not a storm. A normal cruise ship at the end of a normal voyage, carrying thousands of ordinary memories, and one impossible absence. Xing Lei Li vanished from a world that should have been controlled. A ship with cabins, cameras, staff, schedules, passenger lists, and exits. A floating city where people believe someone is always watching. But no system matters if the truth slips through before anyone notices. Italian prosecutors believed Daniel Belling killed his wife and disposed of her body at sea. Belling denied it. A court convicted him in absentia. Then an appeal court overturned that conviction. And after all of that, the central mystery still survived. Because the sea never testified. It never gave back a body. It never gave back a final moment. It never explained how a mother could board a cruise with her family and disappear before the ship came home. That is why the MSC Magnifica mystery feels so cold. The ship returned. The passengers left. The records showed a missing woman. And somewhere between Civitavecchia, the Mediterranean, and the final headcount, Xing Lei Li vanished into a gap no one has fully closed. A woman went to sea on a family cruise. And the ocean kept the ending.